Hello everyone! This video is an Alight motion tutorial. So if you're someone who's just starting out with tweening or Alight motion, then this video is for you. This video will be a long video, so I will put a table of contents along with timestamps, so feel free to skip to the part that you need. Also, if you want to learn at your own pace, I also made a website specifically for this tutorial, and all the resources such as the presentation along with the characters that I will use as a demo will be there. So feel free and have fun. So to start, I will teach you how to separate the parts of your character. So we will learn how to do that. There are many methods that you can do, like drawing the whole illustration, but for me, I prefer to draw everything separately from the get-go. So how do I do this? I usually do the sketch first of the character that I wanted to do. Like if it's for a trend, I do the sketch first. Then it's only when I started doing the line art that I would separate them. Like for example, I would do the head first, then I would follow it with the eyes, then the hair, then the torso and the legs. That's usually how I would do it. But of course, before we delve into that, I will teach you the order of your layers. So, in most cases, like for example, in most drawing softwares, what you see in front, which is like the face, the eyes, the nose, and the lips, you're usually in the topmost layer. While the bottom layer, which is mostly the back layer, are the things behind your character's back. Like for example, the hair, the wings, the tail, or if your characters have those, they're usually the bottom layer. And in most cases, the middle layer would be the head. That's why I always advise people that if you're gonna do tweening, or example, if you're gonna separate the layers through the method that I usually use, you're gonna have to do the head first, and followed by the face, then the hair, then the neck if you have, the torso, and the legs, because it's a lot easier because the head's in the middle and you can visualize where your other parts will go. Another tip would be to think of your object or your drawing as a dimensional or puppet object, like the shadow puppets where they separate like the parts, right? So everything that you will move or you will animate, it's best if you separate them to different parts. So, if you have a hard time visualizing what you will separate, I also made a chart and I will put them on the screen, so feel free to pause. You can use this as a reference. So it's already in order. Like the top layer would be like the front, and then the bottom layer would be the back. So it's already on order. So you can use it as a reference. Although this is not really like the general thing that people use, it's best to like use it with a grain of salt unless you're really doing it for like rigging or VTuber models. But yeah, but if it's just for tweening, you can pretty much cheat some stuff. Like you can have less layers since you're not gonna show everything, and sometimes it's just like a one-time thing anyway. So yeah. Also, for this specific tutorial, I made this character. Let's call her Pinocchio. And for this specific character, because it's like a simple model or a simple character, she only have at least 38 layers. But even then, that's already a lot of layers. Since the reason why I usually separate a lot of things is because I want them to look natural or organic when I animate them. But at the end of the day, it's still up to you on how you want to separate your characters. Next is for the eyes. If you want to do the blinking animation, which most of the time some people want to do them, there are also a lot of methods, but I'm gonna teach you guys the traditional method that I usually do. So first, you will have to separate everything into different layers, like the upper eyelid, the lower eyelid, the iris, and the eyeball. So if you separate those four, you also have to do it for both eyes. So it's 8 layers in total. There are other methods that you can use. There's even some stuff that you can use in Alight motion, but if you don't know how to do that, I don't know how to do that. But there might be some tutorials out there that can teach you to do that. But if you don't want to do that, you can also do this method. So yeah, that's it for the eye or blinking animation. The next would be for the mouth or the lip syncing. I noticed that some people like to lip sync by words or by letters, which I don't really recommend. I mean, it works in the sense that it might look okay, but the thing is, it's a lot more time consuming and it's gonna be confusing. So, in the industry, what animators usually do is they lip sync by phonetics or by sound. So, you can use that. So it's like instead of like doing it word like letter by letter or word by word, it's a lot easier. Like for example, happy birthday. A yi birthday or something like that. Like you can play around with it. So it's like you only need at least 4 to 5 mouths for that. And it's a lot easier and not too time consuming. So the only problem that I had with Alight Motion is they don't have scrubbing. What is scrubbing? Scrubbing is when you move the timeline. So the timeline is like your workspace when you're putting the layers, right? When you move it from like left to right, you don't hear any sound, which makes it hard if you want lip sync. That means you have to listen to the audio over and over again, and it's quite hard to lip sync properly. But yeah. Also, I also added a mouth chart here that you can use for reference. So, animators usually use this for like if they have rigging, they have mouth charts. So it's like they just write down what type of mouth that they need. But I didn't make this mouth chart. This is not mine. So, but you can you can use this as a reference. It works. So, yeah, that's all for the lip syncing. You can play around with it more. I'm not really that pro with it yet. Like I cannot say for sure because the first time I did like twinning in Alight Motion, I did the Vitamina trend and my lip sync was not good because I got too lazy. So I recommend that you probably do all of this just in case that you might end up using them even though you cannot use everything. So yeah, that's all for the lip syncing. So lastly, before we move on to the next part, I must remind you that it's best to merge your color layers to your line art because in my case, for this character that I made for the character Pinocchio, there's 38 layers. If I did not merge the line arts to the color art, what will happen is I would have 76 line arts layers. And that's a lot. That's a lot. The reason why I don't really recommend you guys separating it is because if you have this much layer, you're gonna have a hard time saving everything. Because unfortunately, Alight Motion doesn't accept PSD files. So what are PSD files? PSD files are Photoshop files. You can save your drawings there, and when you open them, all your layers will be there, which is good if you want to do editing, like for example After Effects. After Effects accept PSD files. So if you have those and you have After Effects, you can use After Effects. And maybe some editing software also accept PSD files, but unfortunately Alight Motion doesn't. So yeah, it sucks, but we have to make do with what we have. So yeah, moving on to our next part, which is importing stuff to Alight Motion, importing your images. For example, for my character, I have 38 layers. So that means I need to have 38 images. So what you will do is, if you have Ibis Paint, there's actually a feature or a function that you can use where you can save the layer as transparent PNG. But if you're not using Ibis like me, you can just export or save your layers or your files to PNG format, because PNG format still allows transparent backgrounds, which is a good thing. It works most of the time. But yeah, so you have to manually import the layers to Alight Motion since they don't allow PSD files. This is gonna be a lengthy process, but it's okay if you don't import the layers in the right order like I said at the very beginning, since you can just rearrange them at the timeline or in Alight Motion timeline. So like I said, the timeline is your workspace. So that's it for importing to Alight Motion. So next is changing your pivot points or placing the pivot points. So why do we have to change the pivot points? I feel like I hear a lot of people ask that whenever I see something like that online, and many people are also confused about why do we even need to do it or how to do it. So first, how to change pivot points. So you will select a specific layer and then you will go to edit and transform. At the top icon, which is like the transform icon, you can double tap it and then it will allow you to swipe to change the pivot points. So now I will answer why do we need to change the pivot points. Because one, doing it will make your life easier when you want to animate and do twinning. Because you do did you guys notice that if you did not fix the pivot points, your animation will go wonky, like it's not rotating the way you wanted it? That's the reason. Another tip that I can give here is to think of your pivot points as a puppet joint. Like, you know how puppets have joints, right? And they use those joints to move. Pivot points are like that. You can also make use of the human body as a reference. Also, if you're confused on how to place your pivot points, I will also place a chart at or on the screen. Sorry, I have too much. I'm running out of breath. So yeah, I will place a chart on the screen and you can use it as a reference. I know it looks like an acupuncture point, but yeah, you can use this as a reference and it works most of the time. So yeah, you should also look at the human body and how they move. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the pivot points. So we can move on to parenting the layers. I also forgot to add that when you're changing the pivot points or placing the pivot points, you're gonna have to change all the pivot points of all the layers. So if, for example, for my character, I have 38 layers, I'm gonna have to change at least 38 pivot points. And that's a lot, but you know, it will make your life easier later on. Also, after you've finished like putting pivot points for everything, you can also group all the layers, then also change the pivot points of that group, because it will also allow you to do stuff like swaying motion. Like for example, like a bit of tilting, right? For the character, and it will make your character look more natural. I usually do it as like per chibi or something, because my character would look like, oh, they're moving a bit, right? It gives off that effect, so you know, you can use this information. It might help enhance your animation a bit more. So next is how do you parent the layers? So the parent layer feature is actually a premium feature, so you might have to watch an ad to access it, but it's okay, at least you can still access it. So this feature is actually very helpful because it's like, you know, you're connecting parts to different parts, like for example, the face to the head, and you can move the head and the face still follows along. So how do you do this? So first you will select the layer that you want to parent. Then on the top part, you will see three icons. There's the three dot icon, there's the trash icon, then beside it is like the two squares that's overlapping on one another with the premium feature on it. So you can use that. That's the parent feature. So So why do we have to parent the layers? Actually, parenting the layers will allow you to do a lot more things, and you don't have to like manually animate everything. So you have to remember the hierarchy. So what's the hierarchy of like your layers? So I will put the chart on the screen. I mean, it's not really a chart. It's more of a list that you can use as a reference, because I feel like it's gonna take longer if I yap it. So you can read it. You can pause to read. So remember the hierarchy. So parent layers can control what I call the children layers, or the layers that's parented to it. So, since it's a bit more complicated, I feel like many people are a lot more confused with this also, as well as the pivot points. You can think of the parent layers as a controlling parent, while the children layers, or the layers parented to the parent layer, as a rebellious child. That means the parent layers can control everything that's parented to it. But the children layer, or the children layers, can move independently. So what classifies as a parent layer? The head classifies as a parent layer because if you move the head, everything else follows. The torso also classifies as a parent layer because if you move the torso, the arms also follows. You can think of it that way. So yeah, you can use this as a reference. Since I already put everything to it, I even added like extra information here, like what if you have clothes that you didn't connect to the torso, like you didn't merge with the torso, you can use this as a reference. Next is understanding the graphs. So I decided to think about it like, oh, how should I explain this part? But I decided to just explain the basics before telling you guys which graphs I use usually. And I will give you guys the pros and cons of these different graphs. So, first, how do you access the graph? You should put like keyframes first. So what are keyframes? So keyframes usually appear when you move something. Like for example, you want to move like a circle from left to right. You can add keyframes. So how do you add keyframes? So you go to move and transform, then on the back button, back icon, beneath it you will see a diamond icon. That is your keyframe icon, and you can add that. That's usually what you use if you're gonna animate. So almost everything here has a keyframe icon. That means you can play around with many things to make your animation look good. Like for example, you just want to make it like go from left to right. You can add keyframes at the very beginning, or maybe you can it's also fine if you add keyframes to the end and then just add it backwards. That also works. I see people do that and it actually works as well. It works better than I expected. But in our case, we're gonna put it at the beginning and then we want our circle to go from left to right. You can add keyframes. Once you add your keyframes, right, you can go like to the graphs feature. How do you access the graphs feature? Like you see that diamond icon, right? Underneath it you will see some graph icon. That's your graph feature, and it only appears when you place keyframes already. And what these graphs do is they will adjust the timing of your animation, which actually makes your animation look more like chef's kiss or something, depending on what you need. It also works for edits. Like if you want to edit something, understanding your graphs can be like life-changing, because that means you can make it go slower, go faster, and you have more control. That's why I wanted to teach you guys how the graphs work, rather than just telling you guys which graphs to use, because who knows, maybe if you play around you will discover how good these graphs work. And the graphs are actually free, although some of stuff you can only access with premium. Like for example, you have the first section of graphs which are all free, but the next section, there are 3 sections, right? The next sections are premium features that you have to watch ads to access, and that's usually what most people will recommend if you want to do the constant bopping motion. But yeah, there's also some people who use the free graphs and they just like play along with it to make a very good and dynamic animation, which is actually quite good. A shallow curve, which is a curve that's just think of it as like a smooth curve, right? They usually showcase like slow movements. Like they go fast and then they go slow. But if your curves are steep, like it just sharply goes up or goes down, those are fast movements, so you have to take note of that. But if your graphs are like linear or just straight line, that means the movements are constant. So here I also played around with like the circles that I made. So all of these are going in the same direction, like left to right, but I changed the graphs to show you guys how different it would look like if I changed the graphs, right? So for the first circle, I made it so that it goes slow first, then it goes fast by the end. So it starts slow, then speeds up. While for the circle 2, I made it so that it's just constantly moving the same way. So it's just straight line. While for the third circle, circle 3, I made it so that... So for the circle 3, I made it so that it starts fast, then it slows down. So I will show you guys the difference. See how different they look, right? Your graphs can affect how your animation will go. So make use of that information wisely, I guess. But yeah, there's also some stuff that you can use, like if you want to do the like just the bopping animation. Of course, I feel like that's what most people will be curious about. So how do you do it? How do you like do the bopping animation? So I will add another circle here. Let's change the color of the circle. So how do you do the bopping animation? So first don't forget to add your keyframes of your like animation. The good thing about the bopping animation, you can access it at the second section of your graph, which are paid features, and on the third graph you will see like the wavy graph, right? That's what you can do for like your bopping animation. And what it does is like it does the same actions constantly, which is good for like, oh, if you want to make the character go bopping, right? It's good. And you can just like play around if you want to make it look more steep, you want to make it look more shallow, to make it like slow down first then go fast, or make it go fast first then slow down. You can play around with that. So I will give you guys the pros and cons. The cons of like knowing the graph or playing around with it is like you will have more freedom. The cons is that it's confusing. While for this type of graph, like the bopping graph, the wavy graph, you don't have to do it manually for like maybe a 60-second animation, right? If you need to do 60 seconds for a trend. But the problem with this is that you don't really have like too much control. Although you can add more animation, which is a good thing, right? But you don't have too much control with it. You can just modify it, like, or add more animations on top of it to make it look better. Both have their own advantages. You can use them both depending on what you need. There's also this loop feature in Alight Motion. I just forgot how to use it, so you can also explore that. Now that we're done with all of that, you learned how to separate your layers, how to import your files to Alight Motion, how to place your pivot points or fix your pivot points, how you parent your layers, and how you use the graphs, right? Of course, here's the main dish, right? We're gonna learn how to do animation now that you have everything and you have that power of knowledge when it comes to twinning. So of course, we don't just jump immediately to it. There's some stuff you have to take note of when you're animating. I know that it's not frame by frame animation, but that doesn't mean that you should forget the principles of animation. You would still need to take note of your principles. And there are 12 of them, so I will place like a list on the screen. So this is not mine. Again, all of the resources, I will put a link, I will put a reference. So don't worry, I will reference everything that's not mine on this video and on this file. So there are 12 of them. What I usually make use of, besides the solid drawing, of course, the peel and such, is the follow through. Follow through, I feel like, is the most common when it comes to twinning. So where do you see the follow through animation? Actually, you see it when you have like your character like moves, like do the bopping animation, right? The hair follows through. You have to take note also that lighter objects will move slow, while heavier objects will move very fast. So for your hair is light, so it's gonna be a lot slower. So if your head moves first, your hair will be a bit slow before it follows, right? Your hair don't follow along with your head. It's gonna be a bit delayed. So you have to think of those things, like a lot of those things as well. So for timing, you can fix it with the graph. So it's like you have to take note of that as well. And anticipation, staging, and all those things, you have to take note. So don't forget your principles of animation. I won't be delving deep into them because I feel like that's another topic for another day. It's gonna be a bit complex to explain unless I have an example that I can show you. But yeah, it's a lot easier to do them frame by frame, but you still have to apply them even though it's not frame by frame. And also on another animation mediums as well. It's not limited to frame by frame. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, we're finally here to what people are waiting for. So whenever I animate, I always start with the head. Okay, it's always the head. Why the head? Because I feel like the head's a lot easier to animate. So what I usually do first is I make the character's head go up and down. I just use the transform. I just use the transform tool, like the very first icon, like the icon that you use when you want to change the pivot points. I just drag it up a bit, or maybe you can just drag it down a bit, just a bit. Then you can use the wavy animation, the wavy graph, and then it will move a bit. Then you can just time it with the song like that you're gonna use. Then next is to make it more natural. I go to the rotate button and I make the head like look down a bit, just a bit, maybe like negative 2 to 3 or something, depending on where your character is looking, by the way. But you can make them tilt their head a bit. Then after that, you're also gonna use the wavy graph. Now your head's moving a lot more naturally. So now that you got the head out of the way, the next is you can do the hair. You have to take note of what I told you guys with the follow through. So you also do the same. You make your hair move like also where it's going. Like for example, it's going down. Then you also add the wavy and the wavy graph, and you can make it slower than the head. It will make it more natural. And also with the eyes, even if I don't make it blink, is I make it close a bit, just a bit. I didn't make it look like it's staring to the soul. I make it like it's actually closing a bit to make it like more organic. And from time to time, you can make your character blink because it makes them look alive. Of course, for the torso, you don't really do much because the torso is not moving much. While for the hand, you can make it also move a bit. Don't be shy to make it move a bit. So yeah, in total, that's pretty much it. Now that everything's pretty much ready, you have your pivot point set out, you have your parent layer set out, you're pretty much able to experiment with everything. And it's not just limited to the trends. You can use it for like maybe some memes and all of that. I know this is the last part's not explained as well as I thought it would be, but you can make use of that knowledge that I imparted onto you with a grain of salt, but also as a reference for everything that you're going to do onward. I mean, I hope that it helped. I really do hope that it helped, actually. And if you guys want to learn more about like twinning, I can actually recommend you guys also some tutorials that really help when I was trying to learn more about it. And most of this stuff that I taught you is like mostly my own knowledge anyway. Yeah, they're mostly about 2D rigging. They're not really about twinning, so but I still hope it helped. So yeah, that's everything. This is a long video than I thought. I didn't expect it. Actually, I yapped for so long. I don't think I can speak much right now. So yeah, that's all. Thank you everyone, and I hope you have a good day. Also, if you have anything to ask me, feel free to comment down below. I will answer with what I can. If some parts aren't explained well, I will reply to your comments if you have questions. So that's all.